people of YouTube land! This is the Dodo Wrestling Fan here today for a brand new YouTube series of mine. I thought I'd revamp my YouTube channel, and what better way to do that with a brand new series to kick off 2018. Hopefully I can be way more consistent with this than I was with my Final Fantasy retrospective last year. So really, without further delay, I'm just gonna jump right into it. These are the reasons why I love Sailor Moon. I feel like the name is pretty self-explanatory for this new series of mine. I'm just going to basically tell you why I like a franchise and just ramble on about it for at least a half an hour apiece. But yeah, filler aside, let's just get into it again. So, I'm gonna get into a little bit of backstory first. I'm gonna tell my story with each respective franchise, and I'm gonna tell you how I kind of got into them, because I think that's a really good way of starting things off. So, my mother kept recommending me Sailor Moon because my mother was a fan of the series back when it was airing back in the mid-late 90s over here in the West with the Deke dub. That's a terrible dub, by the way, but I will respect it for what it did, as it definitely brought anime and made it sort of mainstream in Western culture, so I respect that enough to give it credit where credit's due. But aside from that, it's trash. But I was really into Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball was sort of like my gateway anime, and then I ended up watching things like Rurouni Kenshin or Samurai X, and so my mother was like, if you like that Rurouni Kenshin so much with its heavy and romantic themes and things like that, why not give this series a try called Sailor Moon? Of course I had heard of Sailor Moon, like who hasn't heard of Sailor Moon? If you hadn't, you've been living under a frickin' rock. But I always kind of viewed the series as pretty gay, to be honest. Something that was really for girls, and to be fair, it is a shoujo anime, so it is intended for girls and a more female audience. But my mom eventually one night, she ended up putting an episode of the Deke dub, of frickin' course, on Kiss Anime, and aside from the horrible voice work and cringy script, I genuinely really loved the animation, and I was really drawn to it. I couldn't quite explain it. I'm a big fan of retro animation, and Sailor Moon is sort of the series that really personified that love of older styles of hand-drawn animation for me. And as silly as it sounds, I really didn't think much of it due to the really horrendous script and voice acting, so I was like, yeah, maybe I'll watch it later on. So my mom and I, that very weekend, we went out to the mall, and there's this store called Spencer's. And Spencer's had this Sailor Moon poster in my eyes. I literally grew the Sailor Moon hard eyes over one of the cast members of Sailor Moon, Sailor Mars, or Rei Hino. And I was like, holy shit, this girl is hot. I don't even give a shit if she's a fake anime character or not. She's hot, okay? She's really goddamn hot. So I said, screw it. You want to know what I'm gonna do? I literally was like, waifu at an instant. I literally looked at her and said, that's like waifu material 100%. So I said, I'm going to watch Sailor Moon up until I see her, so I can at least call myself a little bit knowledgeable before calling Sailor Mars my waifu. Yeah, I know, it's a pretty stupid way of watching the series, but I'm being honest here. So the very next day, I come downstairs, as I usually do. I ate my breakfast, and I put on Sailor Moon. It was the Deke dub, of course. But I noticed that there were some things wrong with it. There were some things that really weren't lining up. Like, for instance, on the Kiss anime, they said Usagi Tsukino is a 14-year-old girl. In the Deke dub, they were calling her Serena Tsukino. And I was like, I'm gonna jump ship to the Japanese version real quick. So then I rewatched the first episode in Japanese, and it was a completely different and way better experience from the Deke dub, or the only English version that I knew at the time. If I knew the Viz version was a thing, well, I would have watched the Viz. But in hindsight, I'm actually pretty glad I got used to the subtitles, because even still to this very day, the Viz dub isn't finished. I think they're recording the second part of Super S right now. That's just off the top of my head, so don't hold me to it. So I ended up binging a couple of episodes that day. I watched the first episode of Sailor Moon. I thought it was phenomenal. I watched the second episode, and there was just the way the world looked, the music. Oh my god, the music in the subtitled version is sheer perfection in my eyes. Everything just came together to form a very aesthetically amazing and pleasing thing for my eyes and ears to watch. I was just fully enjoying it, and all like the sort of one-off filler episodes were based around things that are very cheap to me, but things that I always find very interesting. So, for instance, like, I still remember there was this filler episode, I think it's episode 3, where it's like the midnight hour radio station, and that was like when I freaking knew that Sailor Moon was going to be one of my favorites. It was that episode right there. So eventually I became completely hooked on the series, and I still remember to this very day I immediately changed my icon on Twitter to Sailor Mars, and I was reviewing the series. That's what I was doing. So I'd be like Sailor Moon episode 1, and then I'd rank it 1 out of 10, and I was so optimistic. I was giving like each episode like 9, 10 out of 10s. There was, like I said, it was just a show that generally really clicked with me, and by the end of these 46 episodes in the subtitles, I didn't regret anything, and I just wanted to watch more and more and more and more and more, and it ended up becoming my favorite anime series of all time, if not my favorite franchise of all time, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, I should probably get into more specific categories than this. So let's discuss the music, shall we, since I brought that up as a prior talking point. The music of Sailor Moon is absolutely gorgeous, and I knew this from the very first song I heard of the series, Moonlight Densetsu, which is sort of like the main theme of the entire series. But the music itself goes together so well with the flashy and very stylish art style and animation. Like, for instance, let's take Tuxedo Mask's theme, for example. To me, there was nothing more badass than seeing that rose slash, and then you hear that little sound effect where it's like do 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 pa 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 da da na na, and then he gives this heroic, cliche, cheesy but super awesome speeches, and I was just, man, the music goes together so well with every emotion and mood in this series and every single environment. It just all came together so flawlessly well for me. Takanori Arisawa, I butchered the pronunciation, I guarantee it, but that guy is a complete legend, and I will forever respect the work that he did on Sailor Moon, since she was the lead composer of the original anime series. Crystal's music is high-key trash in comparison to the original score, in my opinion, and I can't believe that there are some people like, oh my god, Crystal is so much better than the original series, and I'm just, are you high? The music is just, it has this very distinctive, jazzy, it's almost like a Cool Cats Club kind of vibe that it has to it, and I just cannot get enough of it. The melodies are memorable, they're sophisticated, they're tight. Everything about the music of Sailor Moon is just absolutely gorgeous in my eyes. If you ever want some good listening, I highly recommend listening to some of the ending themes of Sailor Moon. They're absolutely gorgeous, such as Tuxedo Mirage, the ending theme of S, Hearts Moving, the very first ending theme, Makanai, the opening to Sailor Stars. Like, the vocal songs of Sailor Moon are intensely good, and they're, in my opinion, the greatest insert songs in all of anime history. At least from what I have heard, and at least from what I've watched, which is quite a lot, actually. I've seen quite a lot of anime during the course of the past year, and I've really grown, and I've really expanded on that interest. Hell, here I am talking about it, which I wouldn't have been talking about it last year, so definitely my favorite vocal songs in anime history, and I highly doubt they'll be topped. Oh, and anything to do with the Three Lights, which is something that I find so freaking brilliant about the series, is, okay, we have this boy band, right? The Three Lights and the Sailor Stars. We actually gave them songs to sing. Full-length recorded songs that are really good, okay? These songs are actually legitimately awesome. Listen to songs like Search for Your Love, and the lyrics when they're translated to English are absolutely beautiful, because these are lyrics written by Naoko Takeuchi, the creator of the series. So that's so dope to me, how everything about the music of Sailor Moon is perfection in my eyes. Like, 100% of the OST, there's not one song that I'm like, ew, when it comes on. It's all just, yep, that's banging. So it's that attention to detail where it's like they didn't just put shitty background music when the boy band was performing. No, they actually wrote legitimately amazing songs for this boy band, and I respect that so much, and it's things like that that I love the most about Sailor Moon. It is the attention to detail, the lure, it's just so well put together. But I've been going on the music, and I've been talking about the animation and art style, but I should probably get into the animation and art style a little bit more. I adore Naoko Takeuchi's art in the manga. I adore it. There's some people that call it ugly as fuck, but I'm not one of them. I think it's gorgeous. The anime has some of the nicest set pieces and aesthetics I've ever seen in all of animation. Like, for instance, just take a look at the Juban district at night. It's amazing. Take a look at Future Crystal Tokyo from R. It's breathtakingly beautiful. And the manga is no stranger to beautiful art because there is so much of it. Naoko Takeuchi cannot stress how talented of an artist and a writer that she is. She's really in a league of her own, in my opinion. And it's really a damn shame that she never did much past Sailor Moon. Of course, she did like Codename Sailor V, and she wrote some like one-off more comedic mangas in her days, but Sailor Moon's kind of her only thing. But you know what? What a fucking single thing to be known for. That's all I'm gonna say. And like I said, the animation is some of Toei's best work ever. Now, Toei has royally botched up the animation art style in Crystal, in my opinion. Of course, Crystal has improved with later seasons, but there are some things in the Dark Kingdom arc, or the Season 1 of Crystal, that are just downright hideous to me. They try to replicate the manga art style in the anime, and it just does not come across well, and the 3D transformation sequence make me want to puke. Now, that is one criticism that many people tend to have, is the fact that, yes, Sailor Moon is an amazingly well-animated show. That I don't think that can really be argued. But Toei had a nasty habit of reusing animations such as attack animations and transformation animations. I never had a problem with them personally because it makes sense for the kind of show that it is, but a lot of people do, and I can kind of see their point where it's like, yeah, seeing the same pieces of animation nearly every episode does get kind of boring, but the good definitely outweighs the bad here, and like I said, with everything being so nice to look at, so pretty, it is Bishoujo after all, so of course it would be eye-catching. Bishoujo's in the name, Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon. So, naturally it's gonna look pretty good. But if there's one thing I haven't really dug deep into, it's actually the show itself. I've dug into the aesthetics, I've done the surface stuff, but what about the stuff when you actually get into the series? The series itself, the writing, the characters, the story. Let's get into this. Sailor Moon is a series largely focused on filler. Yeah, there's lots of filler episodes. There's 200 episodes in Sailor Moon, and I'd say 101 of those episodes are filler. And that's gonna be a complaint for many, because filler is treated like the cancer of any anime. However, the filler in Sailor Moon is the best and most necessary filler in any anime series ever. Like, as much as I do love the Sailor Moon manga, it's missing a lot of the character development, a lot of the charm that the filler in the anime provided. Every single episode, I was just scratching my head in anticipation, wondering what wacky adventures, what monster, who would they fight, what type of interactions would they have this episode, because every single episode was new, it was fresh. It wasn't just a continuation of what happened last, though nearing the end of every arc, that does happen, and my god, when Sailor Moon decides to actually get real, it has the most intense climaxes I've ever seen from an anime. So, it's a perfect balance between lighthearted, fun, adventure, and action to intensely dramatic and serious stuff nearing the ending. And it's the fact that you grow to love the characters in their more lighthearted comedic roles. You feel something for them and you want them to win. In the end, when they take on the big villain, whether it be Queen Beryl, whether it be the Wise Man, if I remember correctly from R, Nehelenia, fricking Sailor Galaxia. Like, you want them to come out of these battles as the victors. And when they do, it's like the most nose-wind-inducing thing in the universe. Especially when the music gets there, the action actually intensifies so hard at the end too. Because one thing that many people have a complaint about the series, again, it's the action is sort of lame in the series. And you know what? Generally, in comparison to something like Dragon Ball Z, it is pretty dumbed down, the action. Don't get me wrong. But you look at the end of Sailor Stars, and you look at the entire, like, the Sailor Starlights versus Sailor Galaxia. That took me, like, 15 takes to get right, the Sailor Starlights. I don't know why, but I just could not pronunciate that name whatsoever during this recording. And, like, the inner and outer Senshi versus her. It's insane, the action. We're talking, like, it actually does get Dragon Ball levels of crazy, and the destruction of the Earth is just intense. It's real. So, there's lots of big explosions. So, Sailor Moon is not without its action. And like I said, because, you know, you grew to love the characters in more lighthearted everyday situations, you freaking feel for them when something bad happens to them. So say, for instance, the original Sailor Moon series, when every single Sailor Guardian of the inner Guardians dies. And the only one that's left is Sailor Moon to take on Prince Endymion and Queen Beryl. Your heart will break, and it's easily one of the saddest and most hype scenes in anime history. because the music perfectly complements this. I believe the music piece is called You're Not Alone. And the writing gets there, and the characters, they all like interact saying like, no, you're not alone. No matter if we're dead, we're always going to be with you. And it's like, is it cheesy? Yes. But if you've seen everything up to that point and you don't get even slightly emotional, you have no heart in my eyes. Like me, I'm a freaking 18-year-old male. I'm not really the dude that gets emotional with like fictional things. But by the end of Sailor Moon, the original series, you will cry. You will have some man tears running down your face, and if you don't, like I say, you're a heartless bastard and I don't want to know you. And the climax of S, it's so awesome. So the whole time, Sailor Moon was able to go Super Sailor Moon, but she wasn't able to go Super Sailor Moon, so then you just have this completely distraught barren wasteland of an Earth in a crater sitting in the middle of Tokyo, right? And then, like, just the emotion of the voice actor of Sailor Moon, Kotono Mitsuchi. I guarantee, again, I completely butchered the pronunciation, but she did an absolutely superb job at replicating the sense of urgency, the sense of fear, the sense of unknowing, and the sense of just having to do it, having to turn into your super form again, having to save the day. It knocked it out of the park. The emotions that every single voice actor gives in Sailor Moon is just absolutely flawless. Simply exquisite. And let's get into the characters themselves, shall we? So, are the characters a little bit on the trope side? Yeah, of course. We have Sailor Moon, and she's your typical anime protagonist. She likes to eat a lot. She's a little bit dumb, but she loves her friends. She has a heart of gold. She is a hero, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, there's Sailor Mars, and she's the bitchy tsundere with a heart of gold. And then there's Ami Mizuno, and she's the brainiac. But they work so well in this situation. Their tropes work so well, and they have enough character of their own to greatly differentiate themselves from their tropes. And everybody is going to have a favorite one. Every single person, I guarantee you will personally connect with one of the characters of Sailor Moon during the course of you watching it. So for me, of course, my favorite was Sailor Mars. I relate with her hot-headed, sort of, aggressive nature, but generally deep down only does it because she loves everybody. Like, that's kind of me to a T. But of course, somebody will be able to relate with the shyness in the brainiac book smarts that Ami or Mercury has. You're going to relate to a character from the story, whether you like it or not. And I love every single character from the series. Flat out. There's not one character from Sailor Moon that I dislike. There are some that I think I like more than others, like for instance, I like Sailor Mars more than I do Sailor Neptune, but I love the both of them. They're all amazing. There's not one weak link in this entire cast. Even like quote-unquote forgettable villains such as like Sailor Lead Crow, again another name that I couldn't pronunciate for the life of me, I thought was awesome. I just think every single character is awesome and unique in their own ways in Sailor Moon. So, when every character, like let's just say the filler, this is where the filler comes in. Every single character gets their own time to shine. And I adore this. Unlike series like Dragon Ball, where other characters tend to get left behind, there's no character during the course of Sailor Moon that ever gets left behind. Everybody grows in strength. Everybody is always equal to other cast members. So your favorite will always be justified being your favorite. Epic voice crack, by the way. But still, the fact remains, that's so awesome. And it's the charming writing of the characters. Like, for instance, remember how I said Sailor Moon was a series, like, mainly based for girls? Well, that's sort of right and sort of wrong, because I think there is actually more to enjoy as a male fan of Sailor Moon than if you are a female fan. Because Sailor Moon is not afraid to get into fan servicey type situations. And of course, there is Yuri in this show. I mean, there's Uranus and Crystal, and she like kisses Usagi, who's Princess Serenity. There is that, or at least I see it like 100 times a day in GIF form. And the writing, there's lots of perverse humor in Sailor Moon. Like, there's lots of like innuendos and things like that, which of course were freaking cut out of the Deke dub because the Deke dub sucks. But Sailor Moon is a show equally for guys as it is for girls. So don't get the misconception that it's, oh my god, it's such a girly show. Nah, actually watch it. There's a lot of things for dudes here. Even Naoko Takeuchi said herself that this was a series mainly intended for girls, but she was going to try to make it appealing for both genders. And in my opinion, she couldn't have done a better job of this. Sailor Moon is just a series and a show and a franchise that is just so intensely likable. I don't know how anybody could have strong dislikes or actually hate it. I will not be able to wrap my head around that. Of course, there are some people that can like it less because by all means, I'm a gigantic Sailor Moon fanboy. I've been talking about the series for like well over 20 minutes now. That has to say something. So naturally, if you like it less than me, that's fine. But to legitimately hate Sailor Moon is something that I'll never get. When the animation is that good, when the music is that good, when the characters are that charming, it's just... I kind of sense that when people say that, they're just saying it to be your opinion. They're saying it to be controversial. They're saying it to be different. Not saying being different is bad, but I'm just tiptoeing around the fact that you're a troll if you say that in my eyes. But you know, I've explained a whole bunch of things, but nothing in Sailor Moon will compare to my own personal bias. Sailor Moon is a series that I got introduced to and it got me through one of the hardest points in my life. I was going through a lot of health issues with my testosterone being really low. I was tired all the time. I was quite depressive back in the summer, and it was kind of justified because, you know, there's a lot of family stuff that's going on. Still going on to this very day, but I won't get into it on YouTube. And Sailor Moon was kind of like that one light. She was like that one figure that was a positive influence on me during that tough time. I was having some arguments with friends of mine at the time, but no matter what I knew, no matter who left me, I would always be able to watch Sailor Moon. So, in that sense, the series means a lot to me emotionally, and I will always have, and forever have, a deep emotional connection to it. My bond with Sailor Moon will never leave. I'm 18 now, and when I'm 30, I'm going to love the series just as much as I do to this day when I'm recording this. And at day's end, I think that's just why I like Sailor Moon so much. It was for me. It resonated with my soul to a degree which very few other things ever have. And that's basically the bottom line. If Sailor Moon isn't your favorite series, by all means, that's more than fine. I get it. But it's my favorite series. And I basically told you everything that there is to know about it. And this is why, and that is why, I love Sailor Moon. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. This is the Dodo Wrestling Fan, signing out.